Hey, welcome back to Mike Seibert Radio. I am your host, and in this episode, it's some of my favorite conversations from the Two Mikes, Too Furious Mailbag Mixer live stream from a few weeks ago. In that, we talk a lot about Transformers 1, as well as Skybound's Energon Universe comic books, including Transformers and more. But before we get to any of that, let's kick things off with a segment we used to do way back in the day. It's the Shout Out.
Shout it, shout it, shout it out loud.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
So real quick, I just wanted to thank Whirl again for inviting me to be a part of their 24-hour charity live stream for Extra Life over the weekend. It's always a great time kicking it with them, along with Beardy and Belle and Polly, and I got to meet Frida as well. We burned through a stack of my fresh deck of Would You Rather question cards, and the conversation started to get really interesting once Belle was able to decipher the code and figure out how the choices were presented. So that kind of added another dynamic to the conversations and the questions and answers. So that was a ton of fun. Now, I am hoping to be able to share some of that audio from that live stream here on the Mike Seibert Radio podcast here with you before the end of the year. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully, Whirl is able to harvest some of the audio from the video, from the live stream, and we'll be able to publish that hopefully in the next few weeks. But I did also want to remind you that you are still able to donate to Extra Life and help Children's Miracle Network anytime, whether live streams are happening or not. You can go to the website extra-life.org for more details, or you can click on the link in the show notes and go to the Whirl eBird page where you can donate and watch past streams and more. And speaking of, you'll actually get to hear from Whirl here as part of the panel during our mailbag live stream for Two Mikes, Too Furious. We'll also be joined by Aaron, Ryan, and Caleb, the entire Autopod Decepticast, along with Two Mikes, Too Furious superfans Matthew Barbario and Abby, and new Daniel from the APDC Discord, as well as one of the hosts of the Geeks with Beards podcast, plus Alpha Magnus joins in, and Apollo from the Transmissions podcast kind of round out the crew. It was such a great time. It's the biggest live stream I've ever hosted, and it was, it was just so much fun. And if you want to experience that entire live stream on the replay, all 5 hours of it, you can go over to the Two Mikes, Too Furious YouTube channel. That link will be in the show notes as well. And you get to watch all of the buck wild shenanigans and tomfoolery and watch people dip in and out. You get to see the visual of Caleb joining in as he's lying on the floor drinking wine, and it's again, it was just a really fun time. I love doing podcasting, but there is a special extra kick that I get from doing live streams, and I think I talked about this some time ago. I think doing live streams is the closest thing that connects me with the feeling I used to get doing live radio when I was on KGRG way back in the day. Recording podcasts is fun, and doing conferencing, like, offline recordings with friends for shows is fun as well. But there is, I don't know, do I just like the danger? I don't know. There is just something fun and urgent and immediate about going live without a net. It's just such a fun thing to do. And while I am on the topic of live streams, I talked about this in the last episode. shared a lot more angst than I think I was anticipating, and I really appreciate everybody reaching out to me. I'm sorry to give folks a scare, but that's that's how friendship works, and I appreciate your friendship. But anyway, I think I have decided to go back to Restream from StreamYard. It looks like I can get the same type of service for about a third less than what I would be paying through StreamYard. Restream's having a Black Friday sale, so I think I'm going to take advantage of that. That's the route I'm going to end up going. None of these are paid endorsements, by the way, but I know other podcasters listen and might be interested in some behind the scenes process stuff that I'm doing. But I started with Restream after I outgrew Zoom, and I think I moved from Restream to StreamYard because they had a Black Friday sale. So I think I'm just hopping back and forth between whoever has the Black Friday sale for the to save some cash there. But as I'm talking about now and kind of going through the exercise of looking at different alternatives, I think this whole exercise has given me some inspiration and some motivation to maybe do more streaming more often. We'll see. I mean, I think I still have enough angst and existential dread and some of that seasonal affective stuff. I think it's just the change of the season and the time change has really just kind of done a wallop on my motivation. But I think talking about it with you here, also kind of having that fire under my ass to actually start looking at alternatives. When you pay for something for an entire year, you forget that it's there and you forget that you paid for an entire year's worth of stuff. And maybe it's an exercise in appreciating the value of things, because going through my YouTubes and seeing how often I do live streams, or more accurately, how often I don't do live streams, and for the amount that I'm paying into it, quite frankly, I just need to be using it more. And I think this exercise has put it top of mind in the way that it hasn't been for some time. So we'll see how that goes. Stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's get into this audio. Now, as I said, this is taken from a 5-hour live stream. So I'm kind of picking and choosing and pulling out segments that probably won't make it anywhere else. The most tangent heavy, I think. The initial idea for that live stream was for us to read listener feedback. And then I think I ended up reading like 4 bits of listener feedback. So about like 1 letter per hour of live streaming. I think just like once we got the, the panel in effect and everybody was gelling and bouncing off of each other and having some really good conversations, you will feel the trajectory shift, and that will kind of take us through our discussions of Transformers 1 and then later Skybound as well. But to start things off, I'm going to start by reading an email from listener Abby. So speaking of, let's go back into the mailbag, and this is actually an email from Abby, who wrote to Hey Michael Andrews, not Hey Mike's, Hey Michael Andrews. So this is for you specifically.
He hates that, Abby. Don't do that again. I can't go back in the closet.
Mike is a jealous god.
That's true. I meant to reply to this way earlier. I'm so glad you enjoyed both movies. Mutant Mayhem is fortunately getting a 2D animated series due to its popularity. I should have written that the subject line was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
I got my mistake. I haven't seen if it's dropped yet, but maybe something to have on your radar. It has since dropped. I have not watched any of it.
I have.
Yeah. So how is it?
Really good. Abby, did you find it the same? Did you watch it yet?
So I've watched only a few. I don't know how many episodes have dropped so far, but I only watched a few. Again, I really like fighting sequences and animation.
Oh,
so some of it has been very satisfying. Because they do keep a lot of, like, again, it's 2D. It doesn't look the same as the movie, but they keep a lot of that energy in the action sequences, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's super kinetic, kind of scribbly, just always kind of moving. I don't know what that style is called, if it has a name yet, but yeah, it's really beautiful, and it's really kinetic too, because it seems like so far it all takes place in like one night. Like, it's one of those shows where it's, you know, kind of shifting perspectives, and they split the brothers up right away, and it's all taking place like simultaneously, real time. Pretty cool.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So is it called? Mutant Mayhem? What's it called? I didn't even know this was a thing.
It's Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I think it's Tales of
But it's a continuation of that storyline.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, it's a direct sequel to the Mutant Mayhem movie, which rules. Like if you haven't watched it, I can't recommend that highly enough. Yeah. It's and it's kind of weird because, like, you know, we've been here for an hour and we haven't even really talked about stuff that we've been up to since we signed off back in August. But one of the things that's come and gone during our hiatus is Transformers 1, and Mutant Mayhem kind of has that feel to it. Like it's streamlined, it's approachable, and it's like, so if you have somebody you know that isn't a fan of TMNT and you want to give them a entry point, start with Mutant Mayhem, because it rules. It kind of takes, it's through kind of the Spider-Verse lens a bit, but yeah, no, it's fantastic. The voice cast is a lot of fun, and I had a blast with it. I was bummed that I didn't watch it until streaming. It's like, oh man, I really wish I would have taken the time to watch it in the theater.
Yeah,
it was super cool.
Actually, Wes and I went to see that at Movies at the Park here locally, and not the most ideal way to see any movie, but it was kind of cool we went like just laid on the grass and watched it. And I basically had no expectations going into it. I didn't know anything about it except from like stuff I'd seen randomly online. And I loved it so much.
So good.
I like that they had actual teenagers sounding voices, like the acting from the
they were actually teenagers.
Did
was kind of the new
was really convincing and just a nice touch, right? I mean, it kind of brought you into the world a little bit more. It felt more realistic. It was the first time teenagers had voiced the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Plus Ice Cube as the villain.
Oh, and he's great.
He eats it up.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
I mean, this is not a spoiler really, but I just like, it was kind of like the narrative was not traditional in so much as like, it didn't really go where you thought it was going to go. For me, at least. I'll just say that for anyone who hasn't seen, I'll just say that.
Well, and I haven't kept
the
up
ending
with
really quick.
All the various Ninja Turtles media over time, but I also liked that it wasn't a retelling of the same origin story a million times over. Like, to bring that up, the conversation from earlier on our Discord, but no, I thought it was great. The art style was cool too.
Yeah, it's hella fun, and I'm glad to see it continue. And at risk of flipping over the apple cart, I kind of hope what I hope the trajectory for Transformers 1 was going to be, is basically like they do the movie and then it spins out to a streaming show, because I believe this next batch of Earthspark episodes is the last. I think that's the end of it. and they're branding it as season 3, but really it's just season 2 part 2. So I'm not privy to the production schedule, but following the pattern that they did for season 1, it's like, this is just the next batch. It's not a new season, and there hasn't been enough time. Whereas there was like a year in between season 1 and season 2. Obviously, production takes even longer than that, but yeah, that's interesting, and we'll see if any of that ends up happening. Speaking of animated projects, I want to continue with this email from Abby, because this is something that I haven't talked about on Mike Seibert Radio, and I really haven't had a platform to talk about it anywhere. But Abby writes in this email, also, I know on another episode of 2M, 2F, you both briefly talked about X-Men 97. If you ended up watching it all the way through, hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, ! It's always fun to see people enjoying or at least talking about media that I consume, meaning Abby. Yeah, I haven't talked about X-Men 97, and it just to kind of kick it off, it's a project I never knew I wanted, because like when X-Men first came around in like the early 90s, I was like right at the curve of the bubble of aging out. And so it's like I was into it, but like it felt like kids my age were in two camps. You're either an X-Men kid or a Batman the Animated Series kid. And I shoved all of my chips in on Batman. So I watched X-Men, but I wasn't like super into it. But the thing that I have been waiting like almost a year to say on some kind of broadcast platform is that X-Men 97 makes me feel the same way I did when I was reading X-Men comic books as a teenager. And like it pulls this magic trick where it's a continuation, but it also ages with the audience. Like, you know, it's supposed to be in line with the rest of it, but it is definitely for folks who sat on their bed in their bedroom and by themselves, being an angsty ass teen in the 90s, because like, you know, it's the soap opera is there, the melodrama is there, the dialogue, the acting. It is a magnificent piece of animation, and I love it. But I don't have a whole lot more to say about it other than like I really like it. It makes me feel good.
Yeah, I think what's really cool about it is that it found this like kind of unique tone where it went darker, it went for adult, but without adding like, you know, killing and blood and swearing. It's like, it's not like a gritty reboot of anything. It's not, you know, it doesn't have like an R rating. It still is like, could be viewed by, you know, kids of that age back in the 90s, but yeah, there's just so many like adult themes of it. It's really intelligent in that way, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So Abby, you mentioned this in the email. How did you finish it, and what'd you think?
I did finish it. I thought it was amazing. I've like been vaguely introduced to like X-Men media basically like my whole life, because I think around the time I was watching a lot of cartoons, like X-Men Evolution came out, so I think that was like my first.
That's a great show.
Like watch of it. But I mean, like my brother's favorite superhero is Wolverine, and I really like Jubilee, so there was like I always like kind of kept in touch, which everyone should know Jubilee is awesome in X-Men 97.
Yeah.
I'm very glad to see her getting love. So
absolutely. And I love how they again, like she is still a teenager, but still like is aged up appropriately. So it's like, you know, that feeling that I kind of described earlier is like, you know, you're still kind of like aging with the characters, that type of thing. It's like they're the same characters in situations that you left off at in like the 90s and stuff, but like you can approach it from two different angles. Like, oh, this is something I'm coming back to 20 plus years later, and it feels like it's progressed along while still being like, oh, well, Jubilee celebrates her 18th birthday, that kind of thing. And it's really cool. That was a terrific episode, by the way. But
really quickly, because we were kind of, one of the reasons we were talking about Ninja Turtles in that email was because, if I remember correctly, Abby, when we had you on, like the Transformers 1 trailer had just dropped, and we're like, well, we can't not talk about this. So did you, I guess I want to go around the room, just like, who saw it? Did you like it? You can give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but
this is going to get good, because I think there's some disagreements here, and we'll see how many chairs I saw that look on your face, Aaron. I've been seeing what's going on in the Discord. There's in fact, actually, so Michael Andrew, sorry to stomp on you, but I've neglected the waiting room, and we've got a new member of the chat just about the time that we're going to transition into a little bit of TF1 talk. But let's welcome in Daniel. Hey, Daniel, how we doing?
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
It's been a while. Sorry I didn't see you there. I got distracted with a bunch of stuff. I meant to bring you in earlier.
I hope you guys can hear me. I'm using my phone, so
sounds good.
Okay.
What a sultry Southern voice.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I seen that message on Facebook.
Yeah, I've been really digging on Geeks with Beards, by the way. Just tremendous success to you guys. Really digging it. I'm glad you guys are doing the thing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. He had something new that me and one of my coworkers just decided we was going to try to do, because we both love comic books. He knows certain things. I know certain things about certain characters, like the turtle one that Aaron enjoyed. That was all my co-hosts. He knows everything about Ninja Turtles. It was all new to me.
Awesome.
Gotcha. So now that Daniel is here also, but because he's got all the APDC swag in the background, I guess. Oh, wow. Let's so obviously we could do a whole other podcast at a whole different time, and there's no shortage of hot takes to be had. But yeah, let's go around the room a little bit and talk a little bit Transformers 1. Who wants to start that isn't me? Because if I start, I will just continue, and nobody wants. I've done like two 2-hour episodes on the dang thing already, so you can find that on Mike Cybert Radio. I'll let somebody else have a turn.
Cybert, you moderate. Just go around the circle or square.
Perfect. I love it, and I will continue to drink.
Did you say what that was? It looks green. Is that like a?
Oh yeah.
It's the boot camp stinger from our episode that we did back in July.
Creme de menthe.
Was that refreshing, Caleb? I can't remember.
Yeah, statistically,
Caleb's grown another head.
Statistically, yeah. Yeah, no, I brought another. I'm bringing another person in to discuss TF1 here in a minute.
Oh, perfect.
I mean, when it's my turn, when it's our turn.
Okay, very good. Well, do you want to start?
We'll be nicer to him than Tom Sharpling was.
No, you can do. Yeah, no, that was the other boy.
Oh, okay. So, whoops. Oh, no. You have two kids? What?
Aaron, I have 2 children.
Oh.
Friends, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought it'd be interesting to get a kid's take on TF1. So I've got my here in the light.
Hello, hi.
So what's your name?
Kenny.
Yeah, and how old are you? 10. And you saw TF1?
Yes.
What'd you think?
Pretty good.
Why?
It's just like the animation was. The animation was pretty good.
Yeah. Anything stick out like that you really remember that you really like in particular? Don't overthink it.
Not really.
Not really.
No.
Where did you go see it?
The IMAX.
IMAX?
Oh, nice.
Technically.
Technically?
Yeah.
Technically.
Whoa.
Did you see it?
Caleb cuts his mic.
We didn't see it in it. We saw it at
Did you see it at Alamo or did you see it over at the IMAX?
IMAX.
Oh,
the AMC.
You saw it at the AMC IMAX.
Yes.
Right on. It was cool. Did you get any popcorn?
Yes.
Yeah, was it good?
Yes.
Okay. So
You don't have to
Who's
say
his
this
favorite
all at
character?
once if you need
We
help.
like the movie Popcorn Positive.
yeah.
Who's his
So-
favorite character?
Yeah, good question.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah. Did any characters stick out for you?
No.
No characters stuck out. There you
Not
go.
really.
I guess it wasn't that good a question.
Did you find the portrayal of Alita to be not quite as it was in issue 17 of...
Yeah. Ask him about feminism.
Go ahead. No, ask him. You ask him.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
How
he's
did you
right here.
feel about so you didn't have a favorite character from the movie?
No.
Well, how did you feel? Did you think the bad guy was going to be the bad guy the whole time?
No.
Oh, really? They flipped it on you.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Kenny, I sorry, now I'm out of questions. I was making fun of Caleb's questions, and now here I am speechless.
So you didn't have any.
haiku.
So Kenny, you didn't have any like preconception of Megatron or anything like that when the movie started?
No. I really never like had like any connection to the show or like any movies until I just saw that.
Interesting.
That was the only like thing of like content that I've seen of Transformers.
So you did not know that Megatron would turn out to be a bad guy.
No.
Fascinating.
What, like father, like son.
Man on the screen.
He's really digging in.
So overall, how do you feel about Megatron becoming a bad guy then?
I was like, well, that's kind of, it was pretty surprising.
Does he think Megatron really is a bad guy, or maybe he's
Ask him
fighting for
directly.
just
He's right
cause?
here, Aaron. He's right here. Ask him.
Oh, I didn't
directly.
know he could hear me.
Aaron knows how to
Okay.
talk to kids.
Yeah, I love this. Ask him about the proletariat. Shout out to Dan in the chat.
Kenny, do you think Megatron going bad is justified? Would that make you angry? What he went through?
Well, technically, it's like it's kind of like, is he bad or is he good?
Oh,
Because like he wants justice.
See, Aaron, kids today understand moral ambiguity. You don't have to show
wow.
There you go.
I'm learning here.
Yeah.
Media literacy, ladies and gentlemen.
Kenny, will you follow up on any other Transformers media, having seen Transformers 1? Does it make you interested to see anything else Transformers related?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. All
Solid
right,
media.
5 out of 10.
we'll see how it goes.
I like how World comes off of the top turnbuckle in the chat here. Hit him with the well technically. I like that. Holy
Thanks,
smoke. Oh my gosh. So nobody could actually see my screen. Apparently when more people join the waiting room, they're down below the row of everybody else. So I don't know
why
how.
wouldn't they be? Like perfect.
Oh, all right. Well,
So,
fine.
do you guys have any other questions for Kenny, or do you guys want to move on and talk about it amongst yourselves?
Oh yeah, I think we should go around the room. Kenny, thank you for the
buddy.
Kenny, thank you for your contribution.
You're welcome.
You're never going
That's
to
more than your father's ever contributed to his
Thank you.
podcast. So
No, that's okay. No, that's okay. Mike, I accept that. That's fine.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
appreciate you.
What a graceful exit. That's my godson, everybody.
Yeah, the one that you missed, the one that you took for the wrong kid earlier. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I was in the shadows. They have
Moron.
similar faces.
You look
Yeah.
like you're in a closet.
Whoever, yeah.
Wow.
It's clear it was the same guy that knocked up your wife twice. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
I think I do think it's kind of fascinating that like he has no preconception of who these people are, and he watched the movie, and so like he had no
But it seems
context
like
for
we kinda got
Megatron.
it.
Yeah, totally. Of course he got it. Yeah, what are you talking about?
All right. So since we're at a low point here, let me all right, friends waiting in the waiting room. Give me
Bring
a
'em in.
thumbs up to indicate that you're ready to join the stream. I got 2 thumbs up. Very good. All right. Well, we're just going to bring in 2 guests at the same time and see how this goes. There's a Alpha Magnus and an Apollo. Hey, this is amazing. Look at how small.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dropping deuce on you.
Delightful. All right. Well, so I guess I actually want to start with Apollo. Hi, Apollo. Thanks for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
I think you are the person out of our group who, outside of that one guy on Twitter who has seen it 37 times in a row, I think you are, of the people I know, you have seen Transformers 1 the most. I know you've talked about it extensively on Transmissions, but I thought I would start with you and just kind of kick us off with like some of your brief thoughts.
Yeah, so I've seen it now 11 times, so 10 times in theaters. Did I make you do a spit take?
Yes.
Yeah, and once at home on digital last night.
I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah.
You're like the sole box office contribution to this film. You're like holding it down for all of us.
Yeah, I'm one of them. Like, and I didn't use the Regal Pass either. I paid money, only used points for snacks.
Point for snacks.
True fan.
So I have a lot of thoughts, and as Mike said, like I talked about this on the Transmissions podcast. I think our runtime for that episode was longer than the movie. So I just think you can really tell they put a lot of love into this movie. I think that's something that everyone could agree on. Like there's a lot of thoughtfulness put into it. The more I've seen it, the more details I've picked up on. I know this is a spoiler podcast, right? I didn't say. Has everyone seen the movie on here?
Yeah.
I have not. Yeah. I'm good. I think I know how it ends.
Okay, yeah, you know how it ends.
I didn't get Titanic spoiled for me either. I knew how that ended.
Yeah, that's true. So there's just like a lot of details and like the art direction, in the music, little throwbacks to the previous movies and franchises, when Alita says to Orion, like, you don't have the touch or the power, and when Orion does the little jump thing, and they pauses for a second. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. It's a movie I've seen the most in theaters. I don't think I can go to a movie theater to see it again. It's just a lot. But it's got me to buy toys, and that's, I think, and that's the point of these Transformers movies and shows and stuff. It's to sell toys. So I have the cogless versions of these as well, and they're really nice. I haven't opened these yet. So yeah, I really think they did a really good job with the relational aspects of the story, like especially portraying Orion Pax and D16's friendship. And you could see the underlying issues in that friendship, how it was pretty one-sided. Like Orion was pretty much making decisions for D16, whether he consented or not. And he ended up having to go along for the ride per se, or the race. Just like when someone's not being listened to, and their needs aren't being met in a friendship, you just get frustrated. And it also just shows you how two different people, or robots in this case, can look at the same problem and want to solve it differently. So also, I want to just say, because I didn't talk about this on Transmissions, I love Starscream. I was not sure about Steve's performance, like when I first heard he was announced being a voice actor, but I really liked it, and I thought he was really cool, and I hope there's a sequel so we can see more of him. And that's enough from me, because I want everyone to get a chance to talk.
And I just want to mention that's Steve Buscemi. We're not on a first name basis with him, like Apollo, but
I'm not either. Maybe I'm aspiring to be.
It's very Hollywood of you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
Steve and Chris.
Steve, his acting.
Yeah. Well, and I was wondering about that because, Apollo, we got to experience that together at that advanced screening, and that was interesting because we saw it a month before it came out. And it was like, so we had the opportunity to see it with our friends from Sybfest. It was just us, more or less. Like, I mean, it was very much a kind of fishing in a stocked pond, but like, we were like super into it, and it was interesting to hear all of like the casual chatting and a lot of pointing. There was a lot of pointing and a lot of nudging. Like anytime there was a blue sideswipe on the screen, it's like I had like a half dozen different people like turning in their seats. They're like, "Hey, blue sideswipe, blue sideswipe." I'm like, yes, yeah, yes, like on my wrist. It's fine. Yeah. But I was like, it was interesting to watch people who are fans of stuff. So it's like, watching Apollo watching this Starscream performance that we know nothing about was really kind of cool to just kind of like have that kind of experience there. Tons of fun, and it was kind of funny with the bad guy revelation. My our friend Chandler, like he was, so I had Apollo on one side, Chandler on the other, and he was like elbow nudge, and Chandler's got a large elbow. It's like shoved me halfway over. He's like, so he's the bad guy, and I'm like, yes, friend, yes. But anyway, that was that was a really fun experience. But let's continue. Matt, we haven't heard from you in a while. Do you have a chestnut full of Transformers 1 thoughts you would like to share with the group here?
I do. I actually watched it for the first time tonight, knowing I was going to be on here.
No way.
And wow. I didn't want to not be able to talk about it.
Good.
So we bought it on digital, early birthday present, and I loved it. The animation was better than I thought it would be. I mean, I knew it would be good because Industrial Light and Magic, they're the best, but I hadn't really seen much of their actual animation work, except for... like I've seen some clips of Clone Wars, I think they do.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, that could be interesting for Transformers, and then something totally different. The voice work was great. Story, Sentinel Prime just keeps being a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least TFA, he's okay. I mean, he kind of sucks, but he's okay.
Notorious rat bastard, Sentinel Prime.
John Hamm's performance, though.
Actual xenophobic racist Sentinel Prime, that one. Well, anyway.
I kind of liked him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Of course
as we've done like this whole experience, like there are times where going through Transformers animated like this is a bit of a nostalgia buster. And we talked like very extensively how Michael Andrews' experience with revisiting and recontextualizing Sentinel Prime and Ultra Magnus and the Elite Guard and all of that, going back through it, with a more of a critical eye, like a more analytical perspective, like we've been doing with the podcast. I don't know why I'm talking for you. You're right here. I'm like, my friend Andrew.
This is what he said.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love about it. Good dynamic.
He listens well.
I try. I jumping ahead in line. Actually, I do want to go to Michael Andrews because, in that screening a month before the movie came out. So again, I got Apollo on one side, I got Chandler on the other side, and there's the reveal. And actually, even before the reveal, I'm like, how is Michael Andrews going to handle this iteration of Sentinel? And then the movie happens, and I'm like, oh no, maybe I should send him a text message or something. It's like, buddy, I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, there was part of me that was hoping, it would be like a twist on a twist, right? Like he wouldn't be the kind of the big bad or kind of be the betrayer here. But I mean, history. They got that one thing right. I mean, they subverted all the other lore for everything else, but for this, stuck right to it.
But for our live action friends, he's got Dark of the Moon sword, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, yes,
I thought that was a nice touch.
Cool. Yeah. I do love like pretty much every iteration of Sentinel Prime, so stuck to that. I really, if we're talking generally about the movie, I really loved it. First off, animation. I saw it in like the laser 4DX kind of version of it, and it was 3D, and I have to put the glasses over my glasses, so I was like, this is gonna suck and it's gonna be dark, but it was super vivid, super high def. Truly, I've never seen like CGI animation like that, like just super hyper real, lots of little details. I kind of felt like I was back watching the first 2007 live action movie, where I was just like, I've never seen anything like this. Like little bits and pieces are moving, and it's just so many things happening at once. I really liked it for just the animation alone. It was fantastic. I went and saw it with a certified non-Transformers fan, and he had a really good time. He had got kind of the story, kind of jumped right in, and really loved it. He was excited to take his kids to it again. So that was kind of a cool experience, seeing it through someone that had like no relation to Transformers to start with.
Absolutely. Let me see. Who haven't we heard from in a while? Oh, actually, so before we pivot, in the chat, World posted, yeah, he was evil, but he got a semi-gratuitous wrapped in tentacles shot. And I mean, we've gotten to the later portion of the evening, and, and I don't know what the vibes of this crowd are. Sorry. And then I'm all like, it's Buck Wild, you good. I figured it's late enough in the evening, but it was kind of funny.
Is this after dark?
Yeah.
Going into the
2F80.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, during a podcast where we're talking about veiny clubs and whatnot, that's we're not doing that. But it reminds me.
Lita.
It was actually kind of funny, and Whirl's probably gonna get mad at me for mentioning this, but like there from the 2M2F Twitter account, I saw a bit of fan art that was that was Sentinel Prime in a very similar situation to that, and I retweeted it thinking it was just Sentinel Prime fan art that I kind of knew what it was, and then they immediately DM'd me. It's like, friend, you know what that is, right? And I'm like, I don't know. And then they proceed to explain it to me in as delicate terms as possible. And I undid that retweet because it's like, we could be spicy adjacent, but maybe that was a bit much. But so anyway, let's so that's fun times. Let's see. So Alpha Magnus, you haven't seen the movie, right?
Nope.
Okay, very good. Are you gonna?
Yeah, when it comes on like Paramount.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, and I guess
I'm not against it. I just don't go to theaters much.
Gotcha. You beat me to it.
I'm not against it.
Well, there's some people that are, and
yeah, I'm not that guy.
Yeah. All right, very good. So, so Daniel, we haven't heard from you in a few. What do you got a chestnut of thoughts you'd like to share about the TF1?
Yeah, I love the movie. I know a lot of people saying it's their favorite Transformers movie. To me, it's going to be my number 2 because I still love the 1986 first. I remember I'm old enough. I went and seen it in theaters originally back in the day. Yeah, I thought the animation was great. As soon as I seen Sentinel, my mom went and watched it with me. She's a big fan growing up with me as a kid, loving the cartoons and stuff. And as soon as I seen Sentinel, I nudged her and I'm like, oh God, this guy. I was like, this. She looked at me and she's like, what do you mean? I was like, this is bad news. this guy's bad news. But only thing he was missing was the animated chin. He didn't have the chin.
Yeah.
But no, overall, I really love the movie, and I love the part. Can we talk spoilers since Alpha's not seen it?
Well, be
Is that
careful
fine?
around it. Use some code.
Yeah, I was.
Use
gonna-
Yeah, you code.
Okay. The cameos. I love trying to point out to my mom the different cameos for different characters that I was trying to keep up with. They were just coming on so fast that I was catching here and there, and I'm like, look at this one, this one, this one, this one. You know,
it's definitely one that when you watch, it's a movie that you're like, oh, I could probably watch this like 5 or 6 times and keep just catching stuff.
Or 11.
Or 11. I don't ran out fingers.
I've only seen it one time in theaters, so I definitely have got to watch this numerous times to catch everything because I know I missed a lot of stuff.
Hey, Daniel, so did you...
But yeah, overall, I love the movie. Nobody's seen it yet. Definitely get out there and watch it. And then when it comes to streaming and when the Blu-ray and stuff comes out, definitely support the movie so we can get a sequel because this is... I want more of this version of the Transformers films. I love the live action to a point, but I want to see more of this kind of Transformers in theaters. I think I'd love to see more animated Transformers in theaters, and I think if we support it, whether it's Blu-ray, streaming, whatever, I'm hoping that'll tell Hasbro and Paramount that, hey, we want to see more of this.
Yeah.
Hey, Daniel.
Because like with Caleb's son, he didn't know hardly anything about Transformers, but yet he enjoyed it. And that's what this movie, I think, did was for us fans of the old school and people that didn't know anything, we all got enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
One shape or form. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Daniel. Oh, Caleb, you wanted to say something, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My mic was doing weird. I was going to just comment really quick. Daniel, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Daniel, did you go see the 86 movie with your mom and then you've now seen the TF1 movie with your mom? Uh-oh.
Did we lose Daniel? I heard you, Caleb.
We heard you fine, Caleb.
I can't hear Caleb. I don't have headphones in. I can't hear Caleb.
Oh, weird.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Okay.
You can hear us okay?
Yeah, I hear you all fine.
Yeah,
I couldn't hear Caleb, though.
Go ahead and pass my question along then.
Sorry.
Did you see the 86 movie with your mom, too, and Transformers 1 with your mom?
I did, yes.
Oh, how sweet.
Wow.
That's really cool.
That I did, yeah.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Sorry, Caleb. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No,
He's saying that's really cool.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk.
That means I have to go to Oklahoma and watch TF1 with my cousin in his basement.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's like those pictures that you take when you're a kid and then take them as adults. You have to like see the movie with who you saw it with, the original one.
Yeah. I wanted to add too, so like I took 2 non-Transformers people to see this movie, and one of them like is now a fan. Like they knew nothing about Transformers, and like now they're a fan. Then they asked me, they're like, where should I start now? So I gave them some recommendations. So I've just noticed on social media, it seems like there's a lot more new fans to the fandom, and that's really exciting.
The second time I went to it, I brought with they weren't non-fans, but they were like they had like a hot and heavy relationship with Transformers, and then like got out of the franchise, took a huge break from it, and they were like, okay, we'll dip our toe back in and go to see it with you. And they just like came out hooked again, right? Like they started like, kind of buying the toys again and doing that stuff. And I was like, yeah, we got them hooked. So make that money, money.
Well,
that first taste is free, baby.
Yeah.
When you start,
I'll pay for your ticket, no problem.
Nice. Caleb, do you mind if I put you back in the waiting room for a sec?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, very good.
Let's concoct a surprise for him.
Well, because like I see I got more people knocking on the door, and I'm like, I can't add anymore, so I got to rotate people.
Yeah, knock. No, it's no problem, Mike. Knock me out. It's all good. I'll remember that though. I'll remember that.
All right. So,
Buckingham, I'm so sorry.
But again, you'll still be in the waiting room. You can like wave if you want to come back or whatever.
No, I'll be back in the green room. room, doing drugs.
Very good.
You can throw me in there too. I've got to use the restroom.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, well,
did you say you had 2 to bring on?
No, just one.
Oh, okay.
But
Well, then I'll just go off camera and go do my business.
And out of the room, hopefully.
May the
See,
odds
guys,
be
I've been
in your
peeing this whole
favor.
time.
I've been on one too many late night Google chats with Aaron where he has taken me to the bathroom with him, and I'm just like,
Oh,
oh
awesome.
no, that is not-
Boundaries.
I'm still in.
Information none of us needed.
I'm still in.
It's just like, oh, that's COVID was a weird ass time. So now I can't add new people. What is going on here? Hey world, did you click on the link? Because I don't see you trying to get in the waiting room. Try it again.
Say it a little louder, Mike. Maybe she
someone is trying to enter, but the studio is full 10
You
people.
still got Caleb in there.
Actually, no, I have to
Kick him out.
Well, I got to
Hunger
actually
Games.
kick him out. All right, bye, Aaron. Kick
Transformers
from
Hunger
studio.
Games.
Bang. Kick. Yes. Aaron will be removed from the studio. If you want to prevent this person from rejoining, you should ban them instead.
What?
No, I need a room.
All right, do it.
This is how friendships
Poor
get
Aaron.
I know.
destroyed.
That's
for
fine. That's fine.
reenacting
I'm just-
Transformers 1.
I'm just happy I'm still in.
Now I can hear you, Caleb. I can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, so maybe it is like a weird studio thing. Well,
Weird.
okay, so
StreamYard's not used to this.
no, and I realized then that 10 includes me. And it's like, oh, snap. Whoops. Abby, Transformers 1. You joined us for our trailer discussion. And
impromptu trailer discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised
And
us.
so now I'm kind of curious to come back around because, like, I give you a second to kind of collect your thoughts too. But like the thing that's fascinating about that conversation we had about how much I got wrong. Like I saw a shot of Arachnid and I knew that Sentinel was in this movie, and I'm like, no, that's not Black Arachnia, is it? It's like, no, it's Arachnid, you dummy. There's another spider lady. That kind of thing. So I thought that this movie was first of all, I thought a couple different things. I thought that the origin stuff was just going to be like the first act of the movie. It was going to go one of two ways. It's either all at the beginning or it's the entire movie. Turns out they did it a lot better than that. In that, like, you get like a third act where, the story plays out, which is way more satisfying than any of the other nonsense that I said. But the thing that cracked me up is that I thought for a sec that they were going to do a similar twist to Alita, what they did in TFA. And I'm really glad they did that, because they didn't do that, because that would have been really, really dumb and not in fitting with what this particular story was. So I just wanted to own that before we got too much further, how silly and wrong I was. But Abby, like, so again, you were really excited about the movie. Kind of share with us what you thought.
Well, I just don't think I liked it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
I just didn't get anything from the movie theater. I loved it. It was really good. And I went to like a early screening. It was like 2 days before the official release. So I saw it on like Wednesday versus Friday, but they handed all that out. And like going in, it was a pretty full theater. And there was a lot of people who obviously kind of knew who all the characters were, who were familiar with the franchise. But I remember like hearing just people walk out and being like, oh, that was so cool. Oh, like I didn't expect that. Like people who are old and new to the franchise. That was really cool to see. In terms of my experience, I thought it was nice that both Orion and D16 got a lot of moments to shine. Even though one is ultimately like the good guy versus the bad guy, they showed a lot of like really cool moments with D16. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to get too spoilery, but the time where they get captured and taken to Sentinel, that whole thing, and how like basically courageous and against authority D16 was in that portion. Like, they showed it as admirable. They didn't show it as like a flaw in that portion of time. Obviously, it escalates. But I thought it was cool that they both kind of got the limelight in good ways, and it wasn't just like this person is evil, and then he just kind of switched up because no reason. Also, I like it when, they take the rationale of, oh, these are robots. They don't have blood or anything. And they're like,
right.
So we can just do whatever with them. And it can still be for kids.
Yeah.
Like, I was a little shocked about how Sentinel went.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's save something for Alpha Magnus, but that was that stuck with me.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say something real quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I've seen a few people online say that they thought Megatron's turn was too fast. I don't really think that it was.
No.
Yeah. From him being a D16 to Megatron, I don't really think it was that quick of a transition. I think they built on it quite well.
Was it faster than Anakin?
No.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't think it was that quick at all.
No.
Some people. I'm sorry.
Finish what you're gonna say, Daniel.
Oh no, it's just I just disagreed with them. They said, oh, it felt like it was rushed. I didn't feel that. I felt it was paced out quite well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was rushed in that, it happened in the span of a film, in 90 minutes. But I thought, for where they had to get to by the end of the movie, they paced it out really nicely. And I thought there was some realism in, like, even we were joking about Anakin, but I do feel like there's some realism in, like, kind of a singular driving event, right? Like there was enough kind of background and like history and issues that he'd had, and then then getting the cog back and like all of these emotions, and it just it was a big moment that turned him ultimately. It was an emotionally tense thing. It wasn't just like, I think I'm bad now, like
right.
I mean, it was on purpose.
Yeah, so I think it was. I also don't think it was out of nowhere. I think it was a very natural kind of outgrowth of. I mean, this is just kind of an anti-exploitation thing. Like they're all being exploited, and it's kind of like I'm just fed up with it, and it. Not to get political or anything, but it's an anti-capitalism thing. Like it's an anti-exploitation of the workers, essentially. Like that's the long and the short of it. And they just had two different views on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to add on there too. So like, there's a lot of like build up to like when the turning point in the movie, like if you look at the dialogue or listen to the dialogue between D16 and Orion, he makes a lot of comments, D16, about like, I'm gonna like hit you with a shovel, or like, I've saved you like 1,000 times or something like that, because like Orion's like, thanks, I owe you one. And he's like, more like 1,000. Yeah. So there's just like, there's a lot of these like little underlying resentment comments that Orion is just completely oblivious to, because he's like the gremlin friend, like he's the one who's like, oh, let's get into some shenanigans, and D16 is like, I'm like at the top of my rank or whatever, like I'm doing a good job, I'm a good bot, I'm putting in my time, I'll get promoted, I believe in Sentinel Prime and the order of society, and the turning point. He's not. I don't think he even sees himself as turning evil. Right. He just is so disillusioned with society, and as you said, Ryan, like they're being forced to be slaves, pretty much, the cogless miners, and so if you found out your whole worldview was a lie. Like, what would you, like, what would you do? And Orion and D16 just have different approaches to how they would handle it. And Orion's always thinking about the overall we, like everyone, putting other people's needs in front of his own. And D16's always thinking about himself. Like, how is this going to benefit me? How is this going to help me? This is what I want to do. So, but yeah, those are great points that everyone brought up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Never for a sentinel.
well, one of the things, and this isn't a spoiler, but like one of the things that a detail that folks have discovered now that the movie is on digital is Megatron's 86 tears, which I love, and I've seen the movie 3 times and I didn't catch it, but like something about seeing it, and he's. And the production designer Jason Schreier confirmed it. It's like, that is absolutely, first of all, yes, they are absolutely tears, and yes, that is meant to homage that shot in the 86 movie. So
yeah.
So I thought that, I mean, come on, man, I'm an easy mark.
Yeah.
You give me that guy jumping in the air like he does that one time. You give the guy with the liquid pouring out of his face like that one time. It's like I'm sold. But I am, as I've been saying, like, Daniel, I'm pretty much with you in that, like, my nostalgia and affection for the 86 movie is unshakable. It is my favorite movie and continues to be. But I can also say, parallel to that Transformers 1 is the best Transformers movie because it's so streamlined and so approachable and so condensed and easy to follow. It's they managed to like thread all of the needles at the same time. And I think, and maybe when we bring Whirl in here in just a sec, like one of the things that I imagine that content creators like ourselves will be trying to forensically determine why this movie didn't click and why it didn't work. And
advertising.
Yeah.
That's part of it, but that can't be all of it. I feel like some of it, having watched the movie, it's like I mentioned on my podcast on Mike Seibert Radio where they're Transformers 1 and Transformers the movie are very spiritual cousins and very much of a kind, in that like there's so many similarities. There's an emphasis on celebrity voice casting. There's a greater intensity to the violence. It's rated PG-13, so it's intentionally a little more intense. And there's so many weird parallels to where, looking back on it, I'm not that surprised that it kind of ended up being the same thing, because they kind of tried this already. Let's make a more mature Transformers movie, but like you guys are saying, marketing it to kids.
Yep.
So it's literally the same thing. It's August of 1986 all over again. The same thing happened. And I just landed on that very, very recently, where I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, why are we surprised, in a weird kind of way? But again, I've litigated so much of Transformers 1. I don't want to necessarily spend our time with my stuff. At this point, let's bring in a organizer of Cybfest Northwest, the notorious Whirl. Give it up. Whoa.
Hi.
How we doing?
Raise the roof.
I'm very tired, but I wanted to pop in and say hi.
Very good.
Hello.
Thanks for stopping in. And so just as you're trying to like rub the sleep out your eyes and all of that. So we were all at the same early screening. One, what do you think of the one? And I guess maybe piggyback on some of our commentary, what do you think happened? Like in terms of how did we get here? Floor is off.
No, I definitely. So I enjoyed the one quite a bit. It was a very fun movie. Had a great time with it. I have been bought. I won one of the Blockies giveaways. I still haven't gotten my package in the mail, but I will now shill and sing praises all day long, even if I didn't like the movie. But I did, so it's good. As for what happened, just off the cuff, off the top of my head, number one, the marketing was bad, and I don't think they knew their audience. But number two, I think also The Wild Robot happened, which I don't know if anyone has gone and seen that, but that is also a very good movie. And I think it had a more broad appeal as far there, was a big circle of appeal for The Wild Robot, and Transformers 1 was kind of in the bottom corner of that circle. So when parents were saying, "Hey, what movie are we going to go see over this long weekend?" they said The Wild Robot.
Yeah.
Because they said, they said badass in the trailers for this one. Let's go do The Wild Robot instead. Again, also a very good movie, but I'm not here to talk about The Wild Robot, so I'm not going to. But
sure.
I think that they were originally supposed to release on the same weekend, if I'm remembering correctly, and they ended up changing. One of them changed the dates. I don't remember if it was Transformers 1 or Wild Robot, but they said, 2 animated robot movies on the same weekend. I don't know about that one, Chief.
Does not compute.
And one of them got, I think the Wild Robot was back week. Yeah. But I don't think that helped matters at all. But it was a good movie, and I think the reviews were pretty good, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, overwhelmingly excellent.
Yeah,
so
I think it was just a marketing thing and a bad timing thing.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for joining in with that commentary there, because like that, I mean that conversation happened in real time at that screening, because like one of our fellow organizers for SideFest is like, I don't know about the language, and it was kind of funny because like, again, it's the same thing as 1986. It's like, no, there was like a year difference, but still, it's like, having that conversation to where I think some of us of a certain age, that was probably the first time we heard somebody say shit in the movie.
That was me. That was my first swear word. Yeah. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. I get the feeling.
I had HBO.
Oh, nice. Very good.
It was my stepdad, but yeah, I do have one thing to say about the Transformers one is, and I haven't seen the movie or anything, but the guy who plays Megatron, he has been the best part of social media. Like, he shows up dressed like cosplay as Megatron stuff. So I think he's just amazing because he went full force.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no
he's
half measures.
Border, yeah.
Absolutely. And I didn't want to get into spoilers, but there are specific lines of dialogue that he says that like chills me to my core. And damn it, I don't want to narrate the whole third act there, but there because like there are times when it's talked about how when he actually becomes Megatron, and I have a take I've never heard anybody else say. It's like it's sure, he says what his name is. He's like, I am Megatron, but there's a line after he meets Optimus Prime and he sees who it is and he has that realization. And that's the line delivery that just gives me the chills every time I see it, because like you were saying, Apollo, Orion is such a doofus, and this has been going on for cycles, like entire units of measure. I saw some cycles legislation on Twitter, and I get fucked. I don't care, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like, so this has been going on forever, and for that to resolve that way, I think that's what pushes him fully over the edge to where there's no coming back. Just one guy talking, despite everything that had already happened. But I think it was that final realization. So.
Can we, real quick, can we get Aaron back in? Is he in the waiting room? I saw a message in the chat.
Oh, let's see if he's there. Oh, he is. Oh shit.
Hey, Tron himself.
Wait.
I've been here for like 20 minutes. I thought you were doing this to me on purpose.
Yes. Absolutely. I forgot what I was going to say.
So we're still talking about our TF1 hot takes, right? Okay, let me tell you, I hate it.
Actually, you're not too wrong, Aaron. Two things on that. One, I'm embarrassed that it took me watching that movie twice to get the AA-tron. I missed it. I'm really embarrassed about that, but that's fine.
I like, as much as I hate that joke, having had my name for my entire life.
Sure.
I appreciate that he got to put that in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You think that was? We were talking about Fred Willard earlier. Do you think that was a riff, or do you think they had already cast him and they wrote that and they had that in the script? That has to have been a riff, right?
You mean what Keegan-Michael Key was doing?
Yeah.
Have a riff on Fred? Maybe. We
were pondering if Fred Willard riffed his TFA episode. I'm wondering if Keegan got to.
There's a little like improv going on in his lines. Yeah,
maybe.
There's no way they could have written that without him being cast.
That's
already.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so we're still talking about the AA-tron joke, right? I mean, like that.
Yes. You know what? Let's move on. Who cares? My name's Aaron.
Yeah.
Fred Willard.
Watch Key and Peele. It's a great show.
Okay. All right. So, Aaron, you're kind of the well, I was gonna.
We don't really have to talk about TF1. Sorry,
Aaron, you're the resident Key and Peele fan. Can you tell us some of your favorite sketches?
You sounded like in the Discord that you had a take that was that you, by your own admission, still needed to kind of like resonate a little bit. Talk a little bit about what kind of this started in the Discord, the APDC Discord with somebody, I don't remember who it was, but not to dox them because it's behind a paywall anyway, but like they said, like, is it okay to give Transformers 1 a 2-star review? And Aaron comes off the top turnbuckle. He's like, only if you want to get dragged. We did proceed to drag that person. Because I said
I didn't drag it.
No,
I didn't drag it.
I said I did.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, because I'm like, everyone is welcome to be wrong. Everyone has the freedom to be wrong all they like. But
it's that Aqua Teen Hunger Force thing of like, you're entitled to your dumbass opinion about what you think you know.
There it is. But Aaron, you had mentioned like kind of like the wrestling with trying to figure out the dichotomy of it being like a good Transformers movie, but also being like, I don't have it in front of me. And again, I'm
I guess I'll pick it up. No, yeah, I was like, it's an okay movie. It's just okay. It is a good Transformers movie, and I don't know. I do just like to see Transformers have a movie that's good. That's like critically, like real. I mean, this was actually fairly critically well regarded, but I mean, it's still not that good. I think they were being charitable when they gave it the reviews, but I think they just saw all the Michael Bay stuff. Sorry, Mr. Andrews. They've only had that to compare it to with other Transformers movies, and they're like, oh, okay, this is sort of delightful, actually. But no, it's not bad at all. It's just kind of slightly better than average as a movie, and as a Transformers movie, it's pretty good. I like the fan service. I like the. I get that. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to reboot it as something that's for everybody to capture a new audience. I hadn't followed the box offices. It sounds from hearing your all's discourse that they failed. But I don't know. I think my main point was I'm tired of seeing origin stories with Transformers. I feel every movie has this element of these are who these people are millions of years ago on Cybertron. Just tell a normal story and put Transformers in it, or tell an action adventure story, tell a detective story. Don't stop assuming that we need to be reintroduced to these characters every time you make a movie about them. Just make a movie like you'd make any other movie. Two people you don't know anything about, but through the story you learn about them, and maybe have a greater philosophical thing you're trying to do with it. I don't know, but it was a good movie. It was fine. It was fine. I mean, to that point, I'd like to watch it again and suss out my feelings a little bit more. I don't really have it all clear. I walked away feeling not 100% satisfied, but I was still, I still was entertained and overall happy.
Well, cinematically though, that this isn't a story that's been told before.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're kind of used to it, but
I don't know. There was still a lot of the matrix of leadership, and I don't know. I think I just want to see a normal movie that. I think in the Discord I brought up Spider-Man: Homecoming as a good example of what I'd like. That Spider-Man: Homecoming, we didn't need to see the spider bite him and do the whole "oh no, things are weird, I'm discovering my powers" thing. You just told a story, and it had to be Spider-Man, I guess, or you couldn't have those action sequences. But it could have been another kind. It could have been other characters in there, and it would have been still a good movie.
Yeah,
and Barbario and I are see all live action movies after 2007.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point though, Aaron, about why do we have to be reintroduced every time? The last 3 movies have kind of been prequels in a way, Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast, and then now Transformers 1, where it's kind of they're they say it's a reboot and then it's not, and it's well, what is it? And this to me feels like a reboot. It would be cool if they made Lost Light, that series, the comic series, into a movie, and just don't, as you said, don't explain anything, but
just tell a story.
But how do you make the gay robot movie appeal to general audiences?
Well, I think
seriously, I get
what you just said was a great point, though. It's because the people behind it don't have the confidence to tell a story like that with Transformers.
Yeah,
and so they feel the audience isn't as big as Spider-Man: Homecoming, right? So
right.
But they don't have the confidence to tell that story, and it makes me sad to tell a story in that way.
In which the audience isn't as big as a Spider-Man, but obviously, I guess if we can debate marketing or whatever, but if we're going off of them going to the well of
all
brand recognition of I would assume the reason they're doing this is brand recognition, Megatron, Bumblebee, Optimus Prime. But the box office is not returning that. Then why not try something different? Because it's
a great point. I like it.
But I think they're afraid.
I'm trying to think of an example. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Daniel.
No, I'm sorry. I think they're afraid to step away from Optimus and Megatron and Bumblebee because those are your marquee characters.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Even though you have Ultra Magnus and Hot Rod and Cup and all the other ones, kids may not know those characters. Kids will look at a toy of Optimus and be like, "Oh, I know that's Optimus Prime, or that's Megatron, or God forbid that's Bumblebee." And I mean, this version of the story is different. Both of them being minors and cogless and stuff like that. I just think Hasbro, like Aaron was saying, they don't have that belief or that bravery to do anything different. So they're going to keep telling these origin stories, different versions of them. I mean, I like this version.
Oh, I do. I love the story. I love the minor thing. I like so much about it, but
I would love to see them take some stuff from the comics, either IDW or even Skybound. I think Skybound, in my personal opinion, is a little bit better than what IDW did. That's just me. I mean, I loved IDW, but I think Skybound is great, and I'd love to see them take some of those stories. Take the Chrome Dome story and all the Brainstorm story, all that stuff like that, make a movie. But unfortunately, I just don't think theatrically they're want to do that. I think that'd be more of
I'm trying to think of an example. I know there are examples of movies that are even sort of super heroic in nature that were just thrown at us, and an audience maybe didn't have any background knowledge on characters, but the movie still became a hit. Like Blade, 300, Sin City, those types of movies. Nobody knew about that shit other than real comic book dorks, and those movies were.
Here's what you need
really
to do. Is Don Bluth needs to do a Transformers movie.
I was going to make a joke and say tell an epic Tolkien-esque story. was it Don Bluth that did Lord of the Rings, or am I mixing that up?
No. That was Ralph Bakshi.
Oh no, he did Fritz the Cat. What's happening
Cool
here?
World and stuff.
Cool. Oh man, yeah.
But I just think because Don Bluth, his movies are so horrible and dark, and they're made for kids, and everybody loved them. And I'm like, that would work so well for Transformers. Like, give Transformers to Don Bluth.
Your sarcasm is drifting.
It's not sarcasm. I'm completely legitimate.
The people, Cool World was a flop, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bashiki, that's who I was confusing Don Bluth with. Sorry.
Bakshi.
Same person.
Okay.
Same person.
I don't have the word in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, like thinking about this movie, like when I watched it yesterday, I was thinking about not a Transformers fan, and it really plays out like a formulaic Disney movie. And which makes sense because the director was from Pixar, originally. So
awesome.
So I don't know, like that. That's just like another thought.
But they have the ability to tell original stories. I mean, the modern Disney movies are pretty unique. I feel like.
I think what Aaron's looking for is like a Transformers movie that's just called like Rust City, or like something just like dark and seedy, and
I don't know what I'm looking for. I guess I'm just looking for something like unique that's not an origin story. All that said, this was still refreshing compared to anything we've seen in the last 15 years. And to be totally fair, it is probably a gamble to tell even the story that they told in the eyes of the general public. So I have to give them some credit, even though it's not necessarily the way I'd like to see it evolve in a different way, but I'm not in charge. I didn't go to college for that.
Yeah.
You're not in charge.
You got to get on the brain trust for the movie.
Theoretically, Mike's in charge.
Oh God! Oh no!
He can boot me. I heard.
Yeah, he's got the power.
Yeah. Too many people now. Ironically enough, not a problem now. So if you want to jump on, now would be a great time to, because we got 3, 6, 8. Yeah.
This is 10.
I'm gonna have to jump off in a bit because I got to go to bed pretty soon. But
I would imagine.
I'll let you know.
Very good. I mean, again, just drop off when we're glad you're here. We're glad.
Like just said, don't let us know. Just go away.
If you wait to leave, you'll be here all night.
Yeah.
I'm like reading an email, and then like out of the corner of my eye, like the tiles reshuffle, and I'm like, what happened? And then I'm like, who's gone? I'm like, I don't even know
who's gone.
Oh no! Oh no!
Never be a father. Who's gone?
who has succumbed? That kind of thing.
And I love the Quintessons in the movie, even though you didn't see a lot of them. I liked what they were doing with the Quintessons in the new movie.
I did too.
That was one thing that was nice, that they didn't explain it at all. Like they were just like, well, these are just, you understand, these are the owners, I guess.
Yeah, and then you get at the end of the movie, you get the kind of the Michael Bay Optimus Prime speech. That but I'm hoping leads into a sequel, because it's like, okay, Quintessons, come on, get us, we're ready for you.
Yeah.
If you don't end a Transformer movie with Optimus Prime sending a message into space, you're not doing it. You gotta do it.
And you could hear Hemsworth try to deepen it to a little bit of a Peter Cullen, I think, by that moment.
Yeah,
I did think that the voice acting I thought was really good. I did think there was a change, like he did put a change in Optimus's voice whenever there was a switch, I think.
Yeah.
Well, to the point that the friend that I went with asked if he was sure that it was different voice actors at the end of the movie, and I was like, nope. They just kind of came into that cadence for the part.
That would be so shitty. They're like, okay, you two step aside. Peter, Frank, get in here.
And I love how they slowly changed Megatron's eye color. From yellow to the red to also show his shift in attitude. And when he looked at he looked at Orion and said, "I want to kill Sentinel," I'm like, whoa. I was like,
yeah, that little like red trail from his eyes, like I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that level of like artistic
that was very cool
twist on everything.
Steven Spielberg lighting effects.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it reminded me of I don't know if people have seen V for Vendetta, but with those blades, like when he does his like blade fight at the end of the movie, and they like add the little like trail on it, I was just like, oh, that's so like artsy and cool.
That was very cool.
Yeah, and when at the end when he tells Optimus or Orion before he drops him, he's like, "I'm done saving you." I teared up.
Yeah.
That hit me.
It's so good.
Hit me. Yeah.
Well, and he is crying then too, a little bit, and then he stops, and then
I mean, I'll say this. I'll admit that I'm not the biggest like Megatron and Optimus fan. Like I kind of like the lower tier, like the more obscure characters. I've never really been a huge fan of like the two main ones, but just from the first couple minutes of this movie, their interaction was so like heartfelt, and it felt like they really knew each other for a long time that I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna be bawling in like 5 minutes. Like right away I was like, we're in trouble.
Well, it felt very genuine.
Yeah.
I bet you could tell a Starscream story. Like somebody write the Starscream movie and
stop pandering to Apollo,
and also have Steve Buscemi voice it, because I'll back up what you were saying. Like Steve Buscemi, that was like the perfect. I usually kind of dislike celebrity voices in animated movies, but that was like the perfect choice. I think it was. It was not a Chris Latta impression, but it still had the connotations of sniveling yet competent and strategic. Like that was awesome. I loved Steve Buscemi.
I really liked that like his voice modulation was like a physical result of the injury from D16. Like I thought that was a really cool little twist on the a very like memorable voice.
Yeah, I don't know, Mike, did you see me cringing in the movie theater when that was happening?
Oh yeah,
when
absolutely.
we watched it, I was like, oh god.
Yeah, you were having a hard time with that for sure.
Yeah, no, I do think it was a good way to show his voice actually changing, but it's just like, oh wow, this is very violent.
Yeah.
Like in the original cartoon, Megatron chokes Starscream how many times? Like
all the times.
All the time.
Like he's into it or something.
That's what I meant when I said really cool. I meant super violent. I didn't mean super cool. And
no, I knew.
Oh, it's awesome.
No,
the violence.
I know what you mean, like from a storytelling perspective. But no, Aaron, that would be cool if they did a Starscream movie. I mean, I'm saying that as a Starscream fan, but it would be.
But you can have a tier 1 character, but one that doesn't always get like the tier 1 focus in a movie.
Yeah. I saw a take on Twitter a few years ago where someone was like, we should do the Bumblebee movie, but it's the Starscream version where he's paired up with a human on Earth and like learns but that would
be
not
interesting.
It'd be interesting. Like he'd be like the mean girl, like
as long as the human's Alexis.
Not that dress.
Yeah. You gotta wear this one.
Maybe like a female version.
He's so bitchy.
Yeah.
You'll never get asked to the prom with that attitude.
No, I see. That's what you're wearing. Well, if you're comfortable with it.
Well, and to throw even more on this with a TFA twist, in this season we've met the Starscream clones, and it's so far up in the chat I can't find it to highlight it, but like John had commented in the chat earlier, like how they just basically blew a gasket when Slipstream showed up.
Yeah.
So I thought that I think they were talking about Transformers 1, but still, like at a time where you have an army of Starscreams that are different aspects of Starscream, I think that's something that you can have a lot of fun with. Or what you do is it's the ballad of Starscream and Jetfire boyfriend scientists. That would be
that's a good movie.
Yeah,
I like
be a
that.
good
I like that
movie.
premise.
Because I mean, it is like one of the best line deliveries Chris Latta has in G1, where it's like he's telling the story and he's like, I sailed across the globe for as long as I could, but he was gone. And there was like a genuine sadness in there.
Was.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So because like you forget that like Starscream is a scientist. By trade, and
I'm sure not a good one.
Oh, so what it is, it's Starscream and Skyfire : the college years.
Yeah.
And it's basically like Skyfire's like the smart one who's always carrying his buddy Starscream.
Yeah.
And shenanigans and all that
Skyfire, there's 2-for-1 Energons down at the pub.
Yes.
Oh no.
It's exam night. What could go wrong? Or the next day's exam.
and that's how his voice gets all screechy, because just too much boot and rally.
I've discovered these jello shots.
Yeah.
I think you guys are just turning the really bad 2000s era movie Dead Man on Campus into a Transformers movie.
Yes. See, but that's an original story. There you go.
That'll never.
Oh,
Paramount, bring us in to make a think tank for your next Transformers movie.
Well, and it's interesting too when you read interviews and hear quotes from the folks who made Transformers 1, you can tell that they're fans, but also that they're not fans, like capital F fans. Like, they'll get details wrong, like names, places, things like that. And it's not a big deal. And I also think this isn't fully thought through, but like there is an aspect of me that thinks that the best fiction comes from non-fans, or at least in terms of like mainstream type of fiction. Maybe I'm seeing nod, so maybe I'm making that point better than I'm thinking in my own head. But like, when you like have like sequels or something like that, and you bring in somebody that isn't as precious about the material, that it liberates them from their own fandom. Oh, here's a great example. Nicholas Meyer, who was brought in to direct Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, arguably the greatest Star Trek movie of them all. Dude hated Star Trek and made the best Star Trek movie because like he was unburdened by fandom to make a terrific movie with these characters that was still, faithful and understanding of them and all that. But like, if he was a slavish supervan, I don't know if he would have made as bold of choices. So I guess in a sense, that's why I'm saying you almost need Transformers fans that aren't like Transformers fans. Like, I don't think objectively we would make the best Transformers movie because I think there would be a safety to it. It would be very safe. You need somebody to make like kooky, dangerous choices. And I think if you're too close to the material, I don't know if you're as empowered to make those choices.
No, I could do it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I appreciate your perspective, but give me the shot.
Hey,
I have to say I completely disagree with you.
Fine.
I mean, I see where you're coming from with it, Mike, but like there have been like people who've successfully made things like a 50 Shades of Grey author. That started off as a Twilight fanfic.
Yep.
So she was a super fan of Twilight and then ended up making it her own thing. So but
it's Twilight, but no vampires. No vampires.
And so to push back on that just a little bit, so then what is it then? Is like you take like Transformers fan fiction and reskin it as GoBots, or because
they're just cars. They don't turn to robots. Cars only.
Or some other type of science fiction thing where like you take like the Transformers tropes out of it and it becomes something else. Maybe GoBots is too close. But yeah, I mean that you're right. That's a terrific example of how something can grow and develop and live as something else entirely. But like, I don't know. It's like how now I'm trying to imagine 50 Shades recontextualized back in as Twilight canon. You know, that.
Well, do we generally feel like the Deadpool movies are decent? I mean, Ryan Reynolds was a super fan, right? I know he didn't necessarily write and direct, but he had,
I love him.
I assume, ultimate creative control. Or like Logan. Logan might be the perfect example of what I'm talking about because Logan didn't, it wasn't like it was a story about protecting a kid.
Yeah.
It was a journey story. Like, it wasn't, but it just so happened that Wolverine was in it and maybe some other mutants, but like that's kind of what I would like. It didn't have to be dark and super violent, but I mean that's the kind of like original take on a Transformers movie I'd like to see.
We're kind of getting far afield here, but I think that, but I agree with you, and I think that like there is some kind of middle ground because like, oh man. I don't think the people who make, like, for example, the DCU movies like comic books at all. Like they
or have read one or know who the characters are.
So I'm like, just real quick. I don't think it's hard to write Superman. I don't know why you guys think it's hard to write Superman. Why do you have to make him sad? So I just think they fundamentally don't understand these characters at all. So I think that's an example of like, if you don't understand the material at all, I think that's bad.
Yes. Yeah.
I do though.
In defense.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Abby.
I would say in defense of Mike Seibert's opinion.
Thank you.
I'm like, I stay at middle ground. Is that like, I think you should be passionate about the source material, but I understand you might be too passionate or have a character you're not willing to flaw for the better of a story. And so I think it's a balance of being a fan, but also being a good writer and not letting your fan, like what you're a fan of, impact your writing or how you would write a character in a well-conceived way or a poorly conceived way.
Yeah, I think you actually nailed it. Is like a good writer who likes the material.
Yeah.
I actually think this is a really funny conversation because freshman year in college, I wrote this. What would be a Transformers fanfic? I guess that term wasn't used when I was in college, but like, but I wrote it with like all original characters. I didn't use any of the main cast. And like I had some friends read it, or like college friends that I just met a couple days, which is weird. Like, I'm surprised I showed them it, but like they read it and they were like, this is really good. Why don't you just make this original characters? And then it would be like something everyone would like. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I never thought it. Like they liked the story, they liked the plot, but they were just like, yeah, you could just make this humans or something, or like set it on Earth, or So it's kind of weird. Like we're having almost the reverse of that conversation
it's the
now.
Twilight 50 Shades story.
Yes.
Only you're not a billionaire.
Yes.
Like, this is weird.
This is we're helping you launch your new story.
And I was pumped about it too. I worked really hard on it. I had like sketches for all the characters. I was like, they're Transformers, you guys. And they're like, nah, it could be anyone.
What if they're just anyone?
Yeah.
What up? They're Transformers.
Yeah. Now I want to read your story.
I do too.
I'll try to dig it up. I'll dig it up.
Yeah.
I will say it bridged the gap. Sorry, one more thing because now we're talking about. The story bridged the gap between like the vehicle Transformers and Beast Wars Transformers. Like it explained that transition.
Oh, the transition nobody cared about.
Hey.
Oh!
Yes.
Come on.
Here comes Ryan Jet with a folding chair. My God! Where's
Smash against forehead?
That was 200 folding chairs getting thrown into the ring.
Well, I mean, we've all been around churches or like organization halls or whatever where they've got like the stacks of the chairs. He just took like the whole thing and just pushed it over. It's like unending folding chairs just landed on top.
I'm sorry. I wasn't.
Yeah. Hey Ryan, why don't you plug your book really quick? Go ahead.
All right, everybody, get out of here! Clear out this live stream. Everybody, get out! It's officially a mausoleum because he's dead.
Well done.
Funeral, just throw the dirt right on his face. Don't even call his mother because he's dead. R.I.P. Ryan Jet.
I would like to add really quick, like to get onto what you were saying, Abby, and then Mike, is like, I think like having like the director or something like not be a super fan is a good idea, but like there could be super fans involved that they could be consulted and be like, hey, like, what do you think of this, for feedback. But yeah, it is good to have like an outside perspective on things too.
So that's one of the disadvantages of being live and doing a live stream for a number of hours, especially when you're drinking. I've talked about drinking and doing shows before. Mostly since I'm doing shows at work, I generally don't. But in an after hours situation and taking advantage of that kind of party atmosphere, I kind of indulged myself in the festivities. But I think there are times that I lose the thread and can't quite figure out what I'm actually trying to say. So in that whole thing where I was talking about non-fans being able to do good content, the example that was eluding me, that's so clear to me now, is the J.J. Abrams 2009 Star Trek movie. J.J. Abrams is not a fan of Star Trek, but that 2009 movie is it's a fun popcorn blockbuster movie, and it kind of takes the concept of Star Trek and kind of refracts it through the prism and kaleidoscope of Star Wars. It's basically J.J. Abrams is using Star Trek 2009 as an audition for Star Wars The Force Awakens, which would come a number of years later. It all makes sense in retrospect, but I remember watching that Star Trek 2009 thinking like, well, this is a pretty good Star Wars movie with Star Trek characters. And I do like that movie in that like it revitalizes the concept and more accurately for mainstream theatrical casual audiences, because like these are terrific characters, they're great concepts, but yeah, you kind of need somebody to put it through a blockbuster filter with lots of explosions and lens flare and all of that other stuff to kind of freshen it up a little bit, especially with the conceit of it being in a alternate timeline. It's like, you get to have your cake and eat it too. There's been obviously no shortage of Star Trek content past this universe. So now, not unlike, say, like Transformers Animated or any other alternate iteration of Transformers, this kind of gets to exist in its own thing. But that was the thing I was referring to. I was referring to Star Trek 2009 as directed by J.J. Abrams, the Star Trek movie that's basically a Star Wars movie with Star Trek characters. Next up, we are going to talk about Skybound's Transformers comic books. And this is a really fun conversation, and the spoilers are relatively light, and really it's kind of like me and Apollo and Daniel kind of talking to Aaron and Michael Andrews, who have not read the books, and we just kind of geek out for a while. And again, this didn't really have a place where I would be cutting out, like, you know, emails and listener feedback stuff to feed back into Two Mikes Too Furious. It's too long of a tangent to fit back into that canon. So this is a perfect place for it. So yeah, I believe this clip starts off with a email message from Daniel as a listener feedback. Let's move on to a question. This one actually from Daniel, and it was something you alluded to earlier, and I didn't engage because I knew this was coming up later. But what are your thoughts on the new Skybound Transformers comic? Now, Michael Andrews, we've talked about this a couple times on the podcast. Have you found your way in yet?
No.
How about no?
I'm out here rereading IDW 2.0 again instead of moving on to the new stuff. But
gotcha. And for our other friends, Matt, Abby, or Aaron, have any of the three of you dipped into Skybound? Because I know, Abby, when you were on, we were talking about how you were getting into some of the IDW stuff, and I think we touched on Skybound. But have any of you guys found your way there yet? I got a hand wave. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I feel like I've been given some spoilers about what happened, so I'm not thoroughly reading every chapter or anything, but sure. I am kind of keeping track of where in the story we are and what happens. Seeing characters appear as it goes on, but we talked about it, and there's one thing about Transformers that I really like, and a panel in Skybound kind of made me remind that is like, and I showed like the little print and whatever.
Yeah, show that off again.
Oh yeah. For people who didn't see it, but I love seeing Transformers kind of just in like a natural environment. I don't know why, but I find it to be just really interesting to see kind of these techie creatures be a part of a very organic world. And I remember seeing, I don't think this is a spoiler because I think most people know that the Transformers come to Earth in Skybound. But like that opening shot of Optimus Prime, like seeing Earth, and like it's so green and it's really pretty, and he's like, oh my gosh, like I love that. Yeah. And like that was kind of like, oh, this will probably be all right. This will probably be good.
Awesome.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. And then there's also an underwater scene with a few of the Decepticons that I don't want to spoil, but that's also very beautiful and just kind of cool to see.
That's a great issue right there.
Yeah, and and I'm not going to spoil it, but like, you know, again, like the Daniels and the Apollos know what I'm talking about. Like it's the thing that I love the most about Transformers comic books is when the artists can convey emotion through characters that don't have a face. So like there's this particular sequence involves Shockwave, but also Soundwave, and neither one of them have faces. And the delight that the curiosity that's on Shockwave's face when he sees what he sees in the ocean, and it's like you can almost see him like Soundwave is like just out of arm's reach, and he's like, bro, you gotta see this. Holy shit. Like it is so cool how they just convey that. And it's just a single panel, but just something where it's kind of like it's the inverse of that Optimus shot you were talking about, Abby, where like Optimus has his arms out and he's like, what beauty. Shockwave has that same experience. It just goes a little different, but the reaction is still the same. Like that core, like holy smokes, would you look at this? It's like, Soundwave, check do you see what I'm seeing out here? It's a really cool thing.
And I'm falling in love with the way they do Soundwave in this comic book.
Oh yeah.
The way Daniel Warren Johnson has been writing Soundwave is amazing. I love it.
Yeah. And quite frankly, that's what got me in. There's the crescendo of the Soundwave Starscream dynamic.
And that made me laugh.
Yeah.
And everybody sent it to me. It was just like, dude, are you reading Skybound? Mike, are you reading Skybound? And it's like my DMs were like flooded with this one panel. Spoiler alert, Soundwave becomes leader of the Decepticons. Yeah. Because why not? I mean,
it's about time.
Exactly. I mean, talk about being the most qualified, unburdened from everyone else's nonsense. You know,
and what you say, and what he says to Starscream about Ravage, I'm just like,
Don't mess with Soundwave's kids.
Yeah, exactly. Don't kick him.
Being a cat dad myself, I felt that in my bones. It is the good stuff, and there's so many things, and it's fascinating to watch how the fandom has embraced Skybound. And I think in a way that maybe it took longer with IDW, both 1 and 2. And I think one of the reasons for that is because it's so sparse. It's like the original Marvel comic. Like, it comes out once a month. It's one book, one title, once a month, and that's it. And I think kind of the hubris of IDW, especially IDW 1, was that it was not spread too thin, but there was too much. It was saturation, like to the point where, like, you know, we talk about like Lost Light a lot, but then Robots in Disguise is just sitting there being neglected, and that book rules, and nobody talks about it nearly enough. You know, to say anything about like all the Spotlight series and everything else, there was just too much. And I think there's something magical about there being precious little.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we're seeing more of that with, obviously you have Void Rivals and now G.I. Joe and all that. It's funny. We live in a world where there's more G.I. Joe books than there are Transformers books. Just kind of funny when you think about it from that angle.
Yeah, and I get all of the Energon Universe books, the Void Rivals, the G.I. Joe. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where the G.I. Joe book goes, since they're wrapping up Scarlet and Destro. I'm curious to see where the G.I. Joe book goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron, you're a little quiet over there. Have you dipped into any of this stuff?
No, I was going to ask you guys. So, having only read the first run of IDW, I need to pick up on all this stuff that's 5 years old and at this point to today. But does it feel like, and the context of this conversation, it feels like it is, does it feel like Skybound is kind of hitting that stride in the same way that IDW did, 4 years in or so, when things really got interesting and deep and unique? Like, is it there yet? Is that, or
I think
is it just
the first issue grabs you of Skybound?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think if you can get past, that first issue, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but when a character is,
I've seen some screen grabs, I've seen some vicious murders of human beings, that kind of stuff. But,
they went right for the guts the first issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that they do a lot of comparing and contrasting. Like, I was talking about that thing with Shockwave and Soundwave in the water, but like kind of like the mark that things that are resonating with fans is when you see fan art and you see people talking about it. It's like, I forget who the artist was, but it was like they had a fan art rendition of Skybound Optimus that's like, oh no, this life is so fragile. And then you have Skybound Starscream, yeah, this life is so fragile. It's like the same thing, just inverted.
Yeah.
And Skybound does a lot of that. And Apollo, I want to hear from you, because I think of all of us, you are the most entrenched in it for the stuff you do with Transmissions, doing like full reviews of all of the comics. So I would defer to your wisdom as the expert here. But for me, the way that the reason why Skybound works for me is like in a weird kind of way, and stick with me for a second because I don't know if this entirely makes sense, but like much like Transformers 1, it's stripped down. It's stripped down and it's accessible and it's approachable. And it's and there is a simplicity to it. And I don't mean that condescendingly, and I don't mean that negatively. In fact, quite frankly, that was kind of what turned me off. No, not turned me off, but didn't really get my juices going with Skybound, because like I picked up the first couple issues, I read them, and I'm like, the 13-year-old me would have thought that this was the greatest comic book in the history of ever. 45-year-old me is just kind of like, I mean, yeah, that's cool and all, but like I found it lacking in depth. But what happens is the depth kind of, I don't know if it necessarily comes later. And again, maybe Apollo and Daniel, you guys would be able to sharpshoot me on this, but like it still kind of retains that streamlined perspective. What happened with me was my perspective changed, is that I've embraced it. I love it. I love that it's straightforward. And sure, you've got the Energon universe stuff, but it's not as convoluted as IDW got, even in the early times. Like, even before they're launching multiple books, even before they're like the lore in IDW is just too gnarled.
It's almost the point of it.
And it always was. And whereas Skybound is untethered from all of that, it's just this straight ahead story about the Energon universe.
Yeah. And it's like Mad Max Fury Road of Transformers. It's just a action thing. It's just a good, solid action thing.
In my opinion, but I would defer to the experts.
All right, defer.
Am I an expert? I guess I am.
Well, you've consumed the most, I guess. And
Daniel and I are. Yeah.
Right. And you've talked about it the most.
Wait, so do you want me to talk about Transformers in particular, or the Energon universe, or both? Like,
sure. The floor is yours.
Oh, gosh.
You could talk about as much or as little
before
as
you go into it. So when you say Energon universe, are we living in a universe where does that, like G.I. Joe and other properties are all connected together with Transformers? Yeah. Is that what's happening? Okay, thank you.
So Aaron, so I'll give you a little overview. So so the Energon universe, this is the new one that Transformers lives in. G.I. Joe lives in it as well. And then there's an original story called Void Rivals. It's written by Robert Kirkman, famed for Invincible and The Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. So, and that's an original story. And that one's been really interesting. It's been hit or miss. I'm going to try to stay focused on Transformers because I have a lot of thoughts about the broader Energon universe.
But Robert Kirkman wrote an original story and he's just inserted into this G.I. Joe Transformers situation.
No, it's the other way around. It's a Trojan horse for Transformers.
Yeah.
In fact, go back to the history about it a little bit. Like even in the solicitations, it doesn't say that Void Rivals ends with the reveal that it's a Transformers book and the launch of the Energon universe. But like Kirkman was trying to be savvy while also being coy and like, you know what? Hey, comic shop owners, if your customers are Transformers fans and you're Transformers fans, you're going to want to order big on this book. I can't tell you why,
priming them,
but you're trust me, you're going to want to go in on this book, which is a very savvy move. And you're reading this Void Rivals comic. It's about these, two aliens that get stuck on an asteroid together, and they are the titular Void Rivals. And spoiler alert, there's a Transformer at the end of it.
Yes.
And it's like, if I remember correctly, you open it up, it's like a 2-page spread that says Energon Universe on it or something like that. So it's, and then Transformers launches shortly after that, and then G.I. Joe launches further after that with like a Duke miniseries, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's just those three properties. It's Transformers, Void Rivals, and G.I. Joe. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Daniel, would you like to start talking about Transformers?
Sure.
I love it.
The Skybound. Yeah.
Paula's throw the mic.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just kind of go just how the issues start, or how you want to.
Well, let's to make it a little more concise. What do you like about it?
I like the visceral of it. You know, kind of how, like I said, it just kind of gut punched you in that first issue. And I know what and I like you said, I like the simplicity of it. The cast is small, to where IDW was throwing like 400 characters at you at some points. You know, you have a small cast in comic books. I love the story that they're telling, and it has where it's at right now on issue 12 or 13. It's definitely got away from being just action oriented. There is a little more depth going into the story.
Yep.
Especially between Optimus and Alita.
Yes.
And Ultra Magnus a little bit. The Ultra Magnus story.
Very damn hard out. My God.
Yeah. But yeah, besides the artwork, the storytelling is just great. I just love the way they're telling with Optimus and what he's going through right now. And with Spike. I love how they've done Spike in this comic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Carly. I love how they've done the human characters in this comic book as well. It's just it's really hard for me to pinpoint something specific. I love it all, everything they've done so far. And not to spoil anything else for, like I said, for Aaron, but I can't wait till one character finally shows up and see what happens there. We've seen it in the some of the G.I. Joe miniseries they've done. I think it was Cobra Commander.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for that character to finally show up and make their presence known in the Transformers comic book.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I'm enticed.
I love it all. The whole, there's nothing specific I can really say, but I love every bit of it. Yeah.
It's been satisfying for me to see Daniel Warren Johnson develop his writing skills and not have to be as so focused on the art, because he wrote and drew the first six issues.
Yeah.
So now they've got different artists, and each artist brings in their own flavor that's kind of in keeping tonally with what he kind of established. Not necessarily like a house style, but like Skybound Transformers has a look to it that I feel is unique. You can't pick up a Skybound issue and mistake it for an IDW issue. Like if you're like going through like quarter bins or something like that, it is uniquely its own thing. It has its own voice, its own attitude, its own vibe and feel. And like I said, I mean, like the thing that has grown on me that appeals to me is that there is more focus on character development, but it starts like a good blockbuster movie should. It's like action forward. Like if if you've ever checked out any of Daniel Warren Johnson's other work, he did a wrestling comic called Do a Power Bomb. And it's got all of that, and there's a reason why Transformers are constantly doing wrestling moves. Like why like Optimus is always like suplexing fools and things like that. That's all very specific and kind of like part of the visual language of the books. But he's also done a Beta Ray Bill Thor comic for Marvel that was really good, and he also did a terrific Wonder Woman graphic novel where it's like Wonder Woman living in like this post-apocalypse like nightmare future where everyone is just like Daniel Warren Johnson like monster creatures and stuff, and it's just like Wonder Woman being a badass Amazonian, just like chopping the heads off of like giant lizard monsters and stuff. It's very action forward is what I'm getting at. But like now that he's focused exclusively on writing, there's a depth to it that wasn't quite there at first. And it does the thing, I feel, where it's respectful to the characters, but also subverts expectations. Like,
sure.
like this take on RC is unique and exciting, and this take on Alita 1 is unique and exciting, and they are very different characters, and I like that quite a lot. Whereas I think as in more contemporary fiction, where Alita has kind of risen in prominence, I think some fiction doesn't know what to do with her. Like, well, she's the other pink robot, that kind of thing. So it's like there's kind of like some parody there. Whereas I think Skybound knows what to do with both of those things. Like basically, like RC is a kind of battle weary crack shot. Like at one point Carly's talking to her. It's like, oh man, you're really good at shooting that gun. You're good at aiming. And she's like, I wish I wasn't. That kind of thing. She's like flinty, but still in a way that there's still some of that RC warmth and compassion. Whereas Alita 1 is basically like the character we met in the episode where they go back to Cybertron, and imagine if she just stayed and was there the entire time and carries all of that weight. Optimus left, that kind of thing.
She's bitter toward Optimus for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
I love the interaction between her and RC, where RC basically tells her, like, you don't know me. You don't know what I've been through. So I love that. I want to see more of that too. I want to see more of RC and Alita 1 interactions.
Yeah. I also throw out, because like I'm super into contemporary sideswipe. RC is a Lamborghini. So that's how I can get my pink sideswipe is you just use Skybound RC. Just throwing that out there. Yes, I saw all three of the blue side swipes in that one scene in Transformers 1. Yes, thank you. Let go of my wrist.
So you both have brought up good points about the Skybound Transformers story. So I'll be quite honest with you. So like it starts off as like it's like when I first started reading this, I'm like, oh, is this G1 like being retold again? Like, how many times do we have to go through this in 40 years?
Another reboot or another origin story.
We're circling back to where we were earlier, but they make it very clear very quickly, like, this is not your kit. This is not the G1 we grew up with. Like, Starscream's just taking humans and squishing them,
smushing
bugs, and having fun with it. And so
he likes it.
He's having fun with being mean, being a villain, and fully embracing that villain era. And they do a really good job. You brought up this earlier too, Mike, with the juxtaposition, like about, and Abby, you brought up too, with like the nature. It's like, oh, this is so magnificent, this nature, and life's so fragile on this planet. That's like and I must protect it. That's like Optimus's view. And then the Decepticons, when they see nature, they have a different view on nature, but they agree. They're like, oh, this is so cool and magnificent. They don't use the word cool, but right. It's like, oh, look at this is so magnificent. Look at the abundance of all these creatures and these whales and stuff. And so they do a lot of that where it's like a mirror, like an opposite mirror of like the Autobots are trying to strive to do good, and the Decepticons, of course, are not. The whole thing has been really interesting with Optimus, like his character. Like, I don't want to get into too many spoilers, Aaron, because I'm sure you're going to read this at some point, but you've probably seen that he has there's something different about his body.
Are you talking about like at some point he must murder Megatron, I'm guessing, and then there's a certain iconic component of Megatron's anatomy that he
it's everywhere. In fact,
attaches to himself.
Yeah. So he has the Megatron arm.
I don't think I'm getting what you're saying. Can you spell it out a little clear?
He literally has his own arm off.
Okay, I'm going to refrain from getting gross. Okay.
He beats him off. But no, when we talk about things that resonate with fans, it's like, I mean, anybody who has toys and does toy photography and fan art, everybody has put up like it's
an iconic thing.
How would you feel about going on the offensive?
Yes.
And it's and that's how you know that something resonates with the fan base, when you see that common thing over and over and over. You may not even have the context for what it is. And like,
which I don't.
And to my points earlier, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's something I would have come up with when I was 13.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, even then it still didn't quite click with me. It took later for it to be just like, I mean, like I said, I didn't really jump on it like whole hog until like issue 8.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I dabble. In fact, actually, I just kind of live vicariously through 6-0's tweets and his TF Source articles more than anything. But it wasn't until the Soundwave stuff that I really got into it.
Yeah. It's kind of like gone head first in with like the character development. Just they do a lot of show not tell, which was like my problem with IDW2. It was a very narrative based, but this, it's like through the dialogue, through the artwork. The artwork's very expressive. The art is not as detailed, I would say, as like a lot of the IDW artists, like Alex Milne, for example. His stuff is super detailed, but these characters are very evocative. Like their body movements, their optics, like just the facial expressions are very extreme, so you can really tell what's happening and how they're feeling and everything like that. And that, as an artist, that's something I really enjoy. And there's this one iconic panel that's super cool, which I know, Mike, you love. You know the song.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you would like that too, Aaron. Like, it's really cool.
I think I've seen that referenced, or that image as well. Yeah,
and it originally did have You Got the Touch in there, but they had to take it out. So they had to put in the song. But
that's funny though.
I think it's better actually.
I do too. I think that's better. But and just like the character, like just when the characters are interacting with each other and like through their actions, it's like it's really become to me like IDW level, like character interactions and stuff and character growth. Like with Soundwave, he stood up for Ravage. He's like, you know what, that's the final straw. Like Starscream's like out of control, being this bossy bitch. Like we're done with it. We're done with him. And then the newest issue is the Starscream backstory, and people are going nuts over that on Twitter. And like I was too, like I read it, and not on Twitter, but I read it and I'm like, oh wow. And then
would it be the good basis for a solo Starscream movie?
Well, I don't know.
Bring it back around.
No, it might, because it involves a certain,
there's no college hijinks like we were talking about earlier, but
no kickstands.
No kick, no, but
no shots.
His buddy Jetfire's there, and and unfortunately, the problem with this is like with this series, I would say, is they like advertise way in advance, like, and they'll release like covers, and I've been spoiled multiple times, probably like those of you following, and like I got spoiled for the upcoming issue. I saw the spoiler cover. I wasn't even looking for it, and I'm like, no.
Yeah. And that's saying something, because you folks over at Transmissions get the opportunity to get advanced copies too. So even having access to advanced copies, you got spoiled ahead of that. That's nuts.
Yeah, some like person on Twitter posted the spoiler cover which is just really disappointing because it's like, yeah, like I wanted to find that out on my own. So, but yeah, Aaron, I would say give it a shot.
I think everything that you all have said makes it sound. I mean, I probably would have given it a shot anyway at some point in time, but I feel like this conversation makes me want to kick that in gear a little quicker. Right? It's only been a year since that thing has been out. More 2 years, I don't know, but and IDW too. Like I like a lot of words. I've heard it's wordy, but
That's what I liked about it.
I love, and I mean, I loved the artwork from that, and I think that one just needed more time, but we didn't have that time,
right,
to finish the story, really. But I was going to say one more thing, and then I'll stop talking. But now I have to remember what it was. It's about Transformers. No, what this story has done a good job of, for me at least, is Starscream's my favorite character, and like I like the Decepticons in general a lot of the times, but it's really made me go, oh, the Autobots are actually like cool. Like I actually like, and like, and it's made me like a lot of those characters more, and like Optimus Prime, like I do really like this interpretation of him, like it, and I do read it in like Peter Cullen's voice, like when I'm reading it, and they do a really good job of like highlighting like characters that don't get a lot of attention, like RC's starting to now, or she has been in like Alita 1, and I do like Carly a lot in this as well. But like Cliff Jumper, he's really involved, and I think that's really cool because it's usually Bumblebee. So, and they don't pull any punches on killing characters. So.
Don't get attached to anybody.
Do not
Game of Thrones style.
Okay. And keep in mind, it springs from the mind of Robert Kirkman, and Kirkman is kind of that same Game of Thrones type of thing with both Invincible and Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, yeah.
Like you could say that he kind of invented that, that or at least popularized it. So yeah, it's interesting that has that sensibility to it, and it has kind of a bit of an 86 movie danger to it, because that's the thing. And here, I mean, not to bring it back to our Transformers 1 legislation, but like one of the things that kind of ties those two projects together, kind of Transformers the movie and Transformers 1, is that there is a little bit of an element of danger to it, and it's like, who's gonna get crossed off, that kind of thing. And it's I don't know, it's just kind of interesting, the not the risks, but kind of like, sometimes things are there for shock value in Skybound, but then other times things pay off. But the thing that I like even more so than like the violence to it is just kind of like the profound sadness to it. It is occasionally melancholy. Like there's I talked about this in the podcast actually, because like in the season 2 finale, when spoiler alert, Omega Supreme is brought back online. But he can't see because he's stuck in a mountain. He's like, but Ratchet, I can't see. And it's kind of like it's resolved very quickly because like he's, driven into the side of the mountain. And I couldn't help but think of Skybound Jetfire at that point. And I brought that up and like went full spoilers with it because that scene where Optimus sits next to him and he says, all right, I'll sit with you for a while. It's just like it tears your damn heart out. Yeah. That kind of thing. So it's full of, and the thing with these all of these moments that we're talking about, they're all fleeting. We're talking like single panels oftentimes, or just like, just very brief things that you can do in a comic book, but because it's in a comic book and that panel can go viral on social media, suddenly it's a big damn mood. Like, what beauty is a big damn mood. Optimus and the deer, I'm sorry, it's like that's a big damn mood because it's a single panel that can just live in a way that's I don't know. I mean, not to get on a whole damn thing, but that's the magic of comic books. I mean, like Daniel, I mean that's a lot of the stuff that you guys are talking about with Geeks with Beards.
Yeah, and for another kind of a spoiler thing with the Transformers is with Beachcomber's introduction. Oh, and he's talking to Spike, and like he went to the Ark. He saw them deactivated, but he didn't activate them. Because he knew what would happen to the beautiful planet if he did. So he just left them laying there.
Mm-hmm.
Which unfortunately they still got activated, but he could have brought Optimus and them back online, but he's like, no.
He knew.
Because I knew what'll happen. This planet is so beautiful, I don't want them to destroy it.
Yeah.
And I think
all right.
Which is such a Beachcomber.
I'll read it, okay. You convinced me.
And I think it's so cool to throw Beachcomber in there. I didn't expect Beachcomber to be a character they pop in there this early on in the run. And I hope they do more with him.
Right. Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, the first 6 issues are already in collected edition, so that would be a really good affordable way to jump right in.
Christmas is around the corner. I know what's going on my list.
All right, so I think that is more than.
Thank you for the explanation, everybody. Hopefully that wasn't just for my benefit, and other listeners or people on this panel could benefit from it. But no, I'm excited. Thank you. And with that, I think I do need to drop. It's almost 1 a.m. Central here. But
Michael Andrews like, I know.
12:30, but I had to hear about this Skybound action.
Yeah.
But no, thanks. It was good to see you all. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye,
Appreciate
Aaron.
it.
Thanks for coming. You. Bye.
Oh, finally.
Yeah, right.
And I just want to say one more thing real quick about the Skybound. We'll get off of that. I like what was like with the Destro comic, how they introduced. Oh my God, I forgot the character's name now.
Oh no.
Power Glide's girlfriend.
Astoria.
Yeah.
Astoria, sorry.
Yeah.
I love how they introduced her. And then with Void Rivals, we're getting a few 1986 characters popping up in there.
Yep.
I want to see more of Hot Rod. That interests me a lot.
Yeah. In fact, we almost should have told Aaron that before he dropped. I mean, I was going to say, if like you like season 3, Void Rivals is your book, because like you've got 86 characters, you've got quintessons. It's like that's if that weird science fiction season 3 vibe is what you're looking for. Yeah, Void Rivals is your book for sure.
Right.
And I think after that, we continued to talk for almost 2 more hours. I think at the end of it, the Charge of the Light Brigade, it was me and Michael Andrews and Apollo and Abby. I think we're the last one standing, and we were talking about like Halloween traditions, and we talked a lot about different types of like crossovers we would like to see with Transformers. It was a really fun conversation. And again, if you want to check out that the replay video of that live stream in full, including the chat, or maybe only I can see the chat because like I own the channel. I don't know. But the chat was hopping as well. There were all kinds of like side conversations happening, as well as a bunch of other comments that I didn't get the opportunity to put up on the screen. But man, what a fun time that was, and eager to do something like that again. And again, I want to thank Aaron, Ryan, Caleb, Matt, Abby, Daniel, Alpha Magnus, Apollo, and Whirl for jumping on with this. Again, making this our biggest live stream panel yet, the biggest live stream I've ever hosted. So big was it that I learned what happens when you get to that 10-person capacity. But man, what a great time that was. Can't wait to do it again. And of course, the biggest, warmest thanks to my Two Mics co-host, Michael Andrews, the Spark Soul brother without whom there would be just one mic. And what kind of fun is that? I do want to let you know before I get out of here that we are recording new episodes of Two Mics Too Furious next weekend, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, so that basically the idea is so you can have a little something under the tree for the holiday season coming up before we jump back into the thick of it with season 3 of Transformers Animated with our Transwarped extravaganza after the new year. We'll talk about that in more detail when we do the next episode of Two Mics Too Furious. I'm trying to be dodgy, but again, if you know season 3 and you've heard me kind of dance around and give hints, I think you got an idea of what we're going to be doing. But I will leave it there before I spoil any more. But I'm really excited for what we're doing. It's like, we haven't recorded an episode of Two Mics since August, and the live stream is fine, but it's a different animal entirely. So I'm kind of excited to get back into it, if only just for a little bit for the holidays. But stay tuned for all of that. And with that is going to do it for this episode of Mike Seibert Radio, which of course is really just a repurposed episode of Two Mics Too Furious. I know, I understand it gets really confusing sometimes. But hey, since this is dropping before Thanksgiving, I do want to take a moment and say thank you for taking the time to hang out with me and for making me a part of your day, whether it's your commute, your run, your work day, however it is that you're making me a part of your life, I guess. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I am so damn grateful for the support that you've given me over the years. It really, truly means the world to me. I mean, I just now thought of this, but next year, 2025, is 10 years of me doing this radio podcasting stuff. And I am thankful for my opportunities, and I am thankful for you. Anyway, like, share, rate, and review the show. Help spread the word. And you can leave comments on the episode you're listening to on either Spotify or YouTube. For Mike Seibert Radio, my name is Mike. And until next time, have a happy Thanksgiving and make good choices.
Just
Mike Seibert Radio is recorded in Seattle, Washington. Our original theme song is written and performed by Lucia Fasano. Get her music on all streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music. Our closing theme is A Nice Place to Visit by These Young Fools, used with permission from Michael Geissler. For more music like it, check out Michael's website, bytormusic.com. Special thanks to Andy Lita for our logos and graphic design. He is at GoGoAndyRobo. Become a Mike Cybertronian and join the MSRP Friends and Fans Facebook group. And you can follow me on social media at Mike Seibert Radio on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And check out my YouTube channel for even more videos and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Want to be a guest on the show? Send me an email, MikeSeibertRadio@gmail.com.
I know just where I'm going.